This is the Horsepower Hour.
Hello once again to the Horsepower Hour, the only podcast with a salvage title. Joining me as always from the flames, rising from the ashes like a phoenix. Coy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It's hot and heavy here in Oregon. We're having a crazy fire danger weekend, so they have some really low humidity, dry, hot winds coming through. They shut down a bunch of power and stuff, and it's ultimate red, fucking high alert, DEFCON. Is it 1 or 10? I don't know. Whatever's higher.
Yeah.
More important. I never know which way that goes.
Either way, there's some Command and Conquer red alert music playing in the background all the time.
Exactly. It's so everybody's kind of freaking a little bit. And there was a fire in Salem last night, and I'm on local search and rescue team, so we did door-to-door evacuation. So if my voice sounds a little weird, it's because I inhaled a lot of smoke particulate, and it's probably got me a little I got that pug syndrome going on,
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, so you were out late last night doing knocks on the doors. Now tell me, did anyone heed your warning?
I don't know. I'm only talking to them for a few seconds, really. And that's the thing, at least in Oregon, evacuations aren't mandatory.
Right.
like it's when you go up and you're like, hey, this is level 3. We're saying get your shit and get out now. That means grab a set of car keys and a coat, like as fast as possible. They can just be like, yeah, I'm going back to sleep. And you're like, okay, have a good night. Stay safe. Like, essentially, when you say level 3 nowadays, because I think there were some lawsuits about people being forced to leave at one point somewhere, you're just saying this is your last warning and we're not going to come back and get you, or
Right.
it's unlikely. So people think, well, oh, they did level 3, but I don't see any fire at my house, so when it gets closer they'll warn me again. It's like, no, this is final warning. So maybe you're safe here, but maybe not. Like, the wind could change and then your shit could all just burn down. So you should go sleep with someone else tonight.
Right. When did this become a thing for Oregon? I mean, I was trying to pinpoint it a little bit just even earlier today, because I was thinking about all wildfires. Obviously, we talked last night before you went out, and I was sitting here thinking to myself, that's been a reality for Oregon for a long time. I remember in 2020 there was like this horseshoe of wildfires that kind of surrounded Sweet Home and Lebanon, and even though it never got into the town and we didn't expect it to, it still had that unease. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, it had the possibility to. I don't know, man. It seems like kind of ever since California did too, it's been drier and it hotter summers, longer. I'm not a climate change guy necessarily, but it's definitely hotter than it used to be and drier. And then they don't take care of the forest. I shouldn't say they don't use the forest the way they used to. So there's less
Right.
clear cuts. A lot of these mountain logging roads, they lock off, and so then they get overgrown and stuff. So the access to fires in the mountains and stuff is blocked a bunch. There's, clear cuts. Say what you will about how it's done and, whether they should be done or not. They're massive fire breaks. I mean, they do have advantages for this particular thing. And if there's a clear cut, that means there's access that where logging trucks could get in there. So that means fire trucks could get in there, a year later or whatever. So, I don't know when and what exactly caused it, but I imagine it's a little bit of climate change, a little bit of the kind of weather we're having and stuff. And this one was kind of in town, outskirts of Salem. So it really wasn't that. It's just somebody backyard burned or something, and they clearly shouldn't have.
Sure. It's like when the homeless encampment goes up in flames and then it catches 2 or 3 houses on fire. It's kind of one of those things.
Yeah, more or less. Yes.
Also, an experience kind of uniquely Oregonian. I have also had a very eventful weekend. Mine started this morning, not like yours last night. So this morning I was hearing all kinds of knocking around on the roof of our house. Keep in mind, I'm
Please
2 weeks
tell me
out.
there's a gator on your roof. That would
Almost.
be so Florida, man.
We had the gators of the sky. So obviously I'm still on crutches. I'm in a boot for another month because I just had foot surgery. And so Corey Ann goes outside because she's like, I got to figure out what the fuck is going on. And I'm hobbling my way on out. We see 8 buzzards, giant buzzards, either on our roof or on one of the dead trees in our backyard. And they're all sort of like swooping down and picking at this dead possum in our backyard. And that's what was landing on our roof and making all of this sound. It sounded like something was in the attic. And it was just these giant birds stomping around. And then after that whole kind of freaky, what the hell's going on here, we got an alert from our PayPal. Somebody had ordered Grubhub. They'd bought a bottle of champagne and had it delivered in New York. So obviously that's not us. And I went in and changed all of our PayPal stuff. I disputed it. I reported it to PayPal. PayPal emailed me back and said, we find nothing here wrong. This is consistent with what you spend your money on, even though we're in Florida and this was bought by Grubhub in New York. So I was like, all right, PayPal, you can sit and spin on this one. And called up my bank, told them, do not allow this charge to go through. So it's fucking Grubhub. The liquor store that it was ordered from is not going to get paid. But we did find something very interesting, Coy. We had access to that Grubhub order. Guess what you have to put in when you order Grubhub? You need to put in your phone number so they can contact you, and you need to put in your physical address so it can be delivered. So we have all of this person's information, their phone number, their address, actually 2 addresses because they had one billing address and then one address that it was delivered to. So we've already gone ahead and sent all of this to the local New York PD, which, by the way, is going to do absolutely nothing because New York police, they've got bigger fish to fry, which is staying the fuck out of the way so they don't get killed. And gave it all to our bank. And the bank said, yeah, we'll try to see if we can go back through and maybe nail these folks for something. But it wasn't quite good enough for us. Corey and I, we were sitting there and we were just angry, about the whole situation. And she says, you know what? I'm going to call them and I'm going to tell them that they're pieces of shit for stealing our PayPal info. And I said, actually, we should do something different. This is going to be better. So I went ahead and dialed the number and called them from my phone. Gal picks up, hello, and there's loud music playing in the background. And I said, yeah, this is Dennis from Grubhub. Did you order a bottle of champagne yesterday? Have it delivered? She said, yeah. And I said, well, I just wanted to let you know that bottle has actually been recalled. The liquor store shouldn't have sent that to you because about 300 cases of that champagne were actually contaminated with salmonella. So I advise you strongly not to drink it. And then there's this long pause and the music gets turned down and she goes, what? And I said, yeah. So it's not our responsibility. We were let know by the liquor store. They're going to be contacting you shortly, but I strongly advise that you do not drink that bottle of champagne. And she says, well, what happens if we already drank it? And I said, you need to get to the hospital immediately, because there have already been deaths because of this and many hospitalizations. You need to get checked out immediately. And this woman, you can hear in her voice, she's just trying to process everything that she's hearing. And she's just like, well, I don't, it's just champagne. And I was like, yeah, no, but it's been contaminated. There are rats in the factory. And I guarantee there was rat feces in the bottle. I told her, were there any floaties in the bottom? And she was like, I don't remember. And I was like, well, I pray to God that you didn't swallow any of those, but you need to get yourself and anybody else that drank that to the hospital immediately. And she was like, okay. And I said, okay, well, again, thank you for ordering with Grubhub. And I hung up.
Wow. That's
and then my wife did the classic thing. She looked at me and she said, you know what? Maybe you should have recorded that. And I was like, fuck.
The other thing that I'm going to say, though, it would be awesome if somebody ordered that. Well, I guess she had that phone number, but somebody probably ordered that for this chick.
Ooh, maybe.
You know what I mean? So she doesn't even know it's stolen. Like, she doesn't even know what's going on.
Somebody got my info off of the dark web.
That's crazy, bro. That
It was just the whole morning was just
Are you
this
gonna call them
weird.
up and survey them in like a day or two, or see like
Mhm.
how happy they were there? If they would use Grubhub again in the future?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Uh,
use my Google phone number, and I'll
mhm.
I'll probably call. As a matter of fact, I might just call them up and pretend to be the liquor store. Like, "Hey, just following up. You were supposed to hear about this."
Please do that, please.
I'll see if I can record it this next time. It'll be from my computer, so, I should be able to record it.
I would do that as the liquor store, and then I'd give it like another day, and I'd call it as Grubhub, just kind of, on your service, offer them some like gift card stuff or
Mhm.
something. Uh, we'll wire it to your bank account, try and get some banking info, and then just drain their account.
Well, and I have to say, I'm telling the story a little bit cooler than what I did because I was seething. I was so mad. Stealing people's credit card info to buy your own I expect it from India, but, like, if you're an
I'm
American stealing my credit card info, do better, be better. So,
well,
I
I'm
was
actually
also kind of like I was trying to rein in my anger while I was talking to this gal.
I'm like wildly disappointed because like you stole credit card info and then you bought one bottle of champagne. Was it a $700 bottle or anything crazy?
It was 60, but
I
see,
mean, pretty average.
that's the thing though, is this is how it normally works because we've had our credit card info stolen before. And the way they do it is they don't go for a big purchase first. They make a smaller purchase to see if the number works. And if it does, then they'll go on the shopping spree. So there were a bunch of other charges that started rolling through my PayPal account, but we were early enough to nip those in the bud. The one that slipped through was their first one, that bottle of champagne. But again, fortunately, we bank with USAA. A lot of people talk shit about USAA, but you know what? We called them up and said, "Hey, this charge went through my PayPal. It's about to hit my bank. Um, do not let that charge go through. Charge it back. We'll deal with PayPal." And then, good news, PayPal just told me to go eat a salted bag of dicks, and so I was like, "Fine, no problem." I removed my card as the payment process for PayPal. I was just like, "All right, well, you don't get any of my money anymore then. Congratulations, dickheads."
You played yourself.
Speaking of Coy, that was good news, but we do have some bad news to get into. The Queen Victoria, reigned for the last 857 years because I'm pretty sure she was a reptile. Has passed away sadly at the age of 96, and we've got a little soundbite here for it.
Wow,
Oh,
bro.
that was the wrong music. I'm so sorry about that.
To say fucking heartless, bro. What
Man,
the
I'm so
dude?
sorry, you guys.
That fucking tea in the harbor was a long time ago. Like we weren't even alive. I thought we buried this hatchet and not in
Wow,
someone's
I
back. Like,
apologize.
geez.
I apologize. Any British people listen to this show, I apologize. But listen, you get to look forward to a 70-year-old man becoming your new king. Here's the crazy thing about this whole thing. When did the queen take her place on the throne? Wasn't she like 20 or something? I mean, she was young.
Very young, yes.
Now the next king is going to be 70. I mean, given the state of the UK right now, he literally could die at any moment. And interestingly enough, their number one cause of death right now is quote unquote unknown. So, anything could happen.
You know, honestly, if you were a 70-year-old, you're the next in line to be king, air quotes.
Mhm.
Wouldn't you just be like, hey, pass? Yeah, give it
Oh,
somebody.
absolutely. I would
Pass.
let that shit slide on past me. Easy, easy. I would let it be known early on. Like once I turn 50, I'd just be like, listen, everybody, I'm not interested in being your king. I'm fine here. Prince Andrew, he was fucking around. You found out about it. You haven't found out anything about me. And I'm gonna leave it that way. Everything's cool. Let me
For
just live
me,
my
it would
life.
just be like, hey, guys, whoever's below me, don't poison my wine.
Mhm.
No, I like my wine unpoisoned. So
Yeah.
just do that chess move. Checkers, man. Jump over me. You're king. Straight to
Yeah.
king. Stack them. You know what I mean? I'm already 70. I'm probably rich. I'm literally royalty. I'm gonna be like cool and hip for giving this up and letting a younger guy do it.
Mhm.
And I'm going to get my next 10, 15 out in peace without having to worry about my food being fucking poisoned so that
Oh.
somebody else can be king 8 minutes sooner.
And you're rich beyond your wildest dreams already, because you're the next in line for the crown. I mean, you're already where you need to be, want to be, and especially because he's out of the public eye, man. Now he's getting out in the public eye when he's 70 years old. No thanks.
Make some slip up, 14-year-olds. And you're like, wait, what?
It's the same way I'm looking at Biden or Trump currently or Bernie Sanders. Like, they're all old dudes. Why do they want to be the president? What are
I
you
don't
doing,
understand
man?
why we vote for these old guys. It's like, bro, I wouldn't fucking hire this guy to be a Walmart greeter. That's really the only thing I would hire. But I mean, I'm just saying, any job they applied for, be like, hey, we need you to supervisor this factory floor. You'd be like, hey, man, this dude's in his fucking late 70s.
Yes.
So even if he is capable of it, he is one fucking slip away from us being out of a fucking shift supervisor. We can't take that kind of risk. But
We've
then
only
America
got one woman that works in this
we will have
department.
them be the most powerful man in the world.
Yeah. We've only got one woman that works in this department, and he won't stop sniffing her hair. I'm telling you, this is a bad idea.
Yeah,
Don't do it.
I mean, I don't need somebody super young. Like, I don't want AOC jumping in there. Like, I'd like somebody who's been around a while, ran some businesses, made some backdoor deals, did a little land grab, paid off some politicians, bought a few police chiefs. Like, I need them to have some seasoned experience, but I need them to be able to remember that experience as well.
This is also true. Don't be pumping. And here's the thing. If you're the kind of politician that has a clone, make sure your clone's not also the equivalent of 78 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
True,
get yourself
yeah.
a 40-year-old clone that's been around the block. Maybe he ran like a whorehouse in Vietnam or something. Change his face with plastic surgery, but at least make him cognizant. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. If you're going to have a body double, he also can't be senile. You know what I mean? Yeah, you got to have a body double that doesn't fuck up more than you.
And by the way, US government, if you're going to use CGI for the president, have a higher budget than She-Hulk. Like, please, don't let the president's eyes and mouth get out of phase with his face, please. But anyways, I digress. Since we're talking about,
you, Facebook has a Joe Biden like face swap app that they're just using right now. They're like, we were gonna release this, and do like it's important to remember to vote thing, and the government's like, no, we need that now. We're commandeering that app.
The White House was like, nice.
No, you just saved us so much, and the quality of this is so much better than what our guys would have put out.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of facelifts, Coy, we got some news, and it's actually really, really good news, and I'm excited to hear it. The new Ford Mustang has been announced. It's the 7th generation of the Mustang. Obviously, we haven't seen the full thing yet. That's still 4 days away. September 14th is the official release of the Mustang. Ford's using the hashtag Mustang Stampede because they are looking to rock people's worlds. Let's talk about this for a second from Car Throttle. The new Ford Mustang. Now, they're titling their article, the new Ford Mustang won't be available as a hybrid or with all-wheel drive. I would prefer to have found an article that just simply said, hey, everybody, the new Mustang's here. But most outlets are too clickbaity at this point, and so they want to have like a grabby title, which is fine. And this is a grabby title, but I'm not seeing either of these things as bad. The all-wheel drive, I could take it or leave it. Like, the Mustang doesn't need to be all-wheel drive for me. They're not trying to chase down the skyline with this thing. But
Well,
the fact
the all-wheel drive version that was rumored was electric front. It was a hybrid all-wheel drive. It wasn't an actual, all-wheel drive trans. It was a hybrid powered front and, standard rear.
Again, I could take it or leave it.
If Mustang did come out and they're like, yeah, we put a 6-speed gearbox in this, an all-wheel drive trans, and it was like legit V8 powered all-wheel drive, I would lose my fucking shit. because the Mustang would go from meh to fucking insane like that. And can you imagine the swappability of a V8 all-wheel drive system?
There are a couple of downsides. The first one is going to be the price tag. I mean, it would have to be $110,000, because at that point you'd be talking about like C8 Corvette type of performance. And don't get me wrong, an all-wheel drive Mustang would be cool as shit. However, I think there is some retro nostalgic simplicity for just this is a rear-wheel drive manual transmission V8 muscle car. It's sort of like what Dodge is doing. Would it be cool to have an all-wheel drive Hellcat Challenger? It would, but that's not really what they're meant for. I mean, at the end of the day, these aren't hypercars. They're muscle cars, and I actually do like that simplicity. If we're gonna be talking about how much engineering and pushing the boundaries and stuff, sure. But I do kind of like the idea of just, hey, it's a Mustang, it's a V8, it's rear-wheel drive. It's still available with a manual transmission, and I don't know that makes me a fan. And people are probably going to disagree with me for saying that, but sometimes it's not about the ultimate search for power and traction. I mean, with a race car, obviously it is, but sometimes I can just appreciate the fact that something's a high horsepower street car that's rear wheel drive, and you're probably going to see 4 or 5 of them wrecked or shot up in Chicago.
Yeah, yeah. I just want someone to have a nice, simple Ford V8 all-wheel drive transmission that I could be swapping into all kinds of kit cars, sand rails. It'd just be nice to have that kind of. And can you imagine just going, in 15 years, picking up an all-wheel drive Ford Mustang and just slowly but surely pulling the Sawzall into camera view and just going fucking nuts with it. And
Well,
then just
unfortunately, we're not Whistling
scooping it
Diesel
out.
and we're not Cletus McFarlane. So I don't foresee me doing that anytime in the future. Maybe 30 years from now. So I 100% agree with you.
What I'm saying.
I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it, and I'm here for it. So I dig what you're saying. We do have a little sound bite here of what the Mustang sounds like. Let's take a listen. Okay, not bad. Not bad, huh?
So, I mean, throw me your thoughts on this. So, this is hashtag Mustang Stampede. So, it makes me feel like there's going to be a new model of something, or this is not. This is something completely different. It's supposed to be a global world debut on September 14th, which is quickly approaching. But what's your thoughts, Andy?
Just from those sounds, I like the sound of it a lot. I think that we're probably going to see the Coyote motor again. I'm 50-50 on whether or not we're going to see any revision to it. I almost feel like the base engine could be maybe like a 5.4. Or at least that's what I would like to believe. I would like to believe that they've done some revisions to it, but it easily could just be the Coyote engine. It's good. It's not all that old. It's been around for what's it been, Coy? 8 years, So I mean, it's not the oldest engine in the world, and I think that probably if a manufacturer wanted to dive into it, they could get a little bit more performance out of it. I did notice with that sound bite, it sounded like they were using a flappy paddle gearbox, maybe a double clutch, which again, I'm not necessarily opposed to. I would like to see it with the traditional 6 or 7 speed manual transmission, but I thought it sounded good. I think from the heavily camouflaged photos, it looks very similar to the previous generation. So we'll see what kind of body changes they did. For all I know, it could just be a mild revamp, but Ford is trying to show off like silhouettes of a GT3 race car for the new Mustang. And I mean, that's good news. I like to see Ford coming back around to their manufacturer racing roots, of course. But to be honest with you, I kind of just expect it to be an updated body, with maybe an updated engine. I severely doubt that they are going to do a full update of this Mustang, though. I don't think there's any reason to, especially not with multiple states now banning the sale of gas-powered cars in a scant 8 years. You know what I mean?
So I have one thing about this video that I find interesting. So you're watching, if you know the soundbite, watch that, and when it pops up the word Stampede, look at the T. That's a 7. They made it that way on purpose, in my mind. Like that T's fucked up to look like a 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is 7th generation?
It is the 7th generation.
So that could be a thing, but it seems kind of, I'm like, that's not secrety. And this, I watched this video 50 times before I noticed that was a 7. And they're not making it obvious. That sound, bro. Did they lie? Are we getting a 7.3?
I mean, if Ford does that, they're going to retain their status as like God tier with marketing.
I don't know, man. I'm not saying that's what I believe, but that's what I want to believe. I've noticed that that's weird. That T is a 7, right? Like I'm not seeing that wrong. They made that a 7 on purpose.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
I wouldn't have noticed, but I saw it out of the corner of my eye and I saw S7 and I was like, wait, what? And then I watched it a couple more times. I'm like, that's not a T, that's a 7 in the word Stampede.
Okay. Percent that you actually not want, actually think it might be a 7.3 Godzilla engine in the top tier of this Mustang.
Mm-hmm.
What's your over under?
So, and I'm going to preface it that's just for this September 14th offering. They're going to do it eventually. They have to.
I don't know, man.
They have. Ford does give people what they want, and they will fucking do it. It's too easy for them to do at this point.
Well, they're already offering the 7.3 as a crate engine with an automatic transmission, and they've recently announced that they are going to offer the 7.3 with a manual transmission. So, I mean, there's some stuff that's lending credence to what you're saying. You know, a corresponding 7.3 crate motor with a manual transmission from Ford could potentially correspond, because, I mean, it's happening very close to the same time as the new Mustang. So, I mean, you've got some leeway there.
Man, the problem is I want it to be too true to really give me a good, honest. But I hate to do this, but I mean, I'm like 50% sure right now. And I hate throwing out a 50-50 because that's so cliche. But I mean, like, I'm like halfway thinking that they are. I'm 50% like it's going to be the 7.3. A part of me, because they're saying Stampede, thinks it's going to be some kind of electric bullshit or something. Like they're going to do some mocky kind of shit. I got a chunk of that. But 50% of me is saying that it's 7.3. Now, if it was me, you know what I would have done marketing wise? I would have been like the new Mustang, the devil's new neighbor. And I would have went 7th generation, 7 speed, 7.3, 777, baby.
Dude, that's so fucking genius.
Like,
that's so genius.
I actually actively don't really like Mustangs. I'd be like, all right, I'm buying the devil's neighbor package. Fuck it, I'm out. Like this, I'm in now. The devil's new neighbor? Are you kidding me? I'll buy the 777. That's actually would be the neighbor. It'd be like 100
upstairs,
house, whatever. Yeah.
It'd be the penthouse to your basement apartment. Yeah.
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 But
no,
still, I would have done that. That's how I would have marketed it. But so who knows?
By the way, that's absolute genius. Like if Ford doesn't hire you tomorrow when this podcast comes out, then we'll know that there's no justice in the world.
Like, not geniuses are seldom recognized in their era. Yeah. In 100 years, this audio podcast, Ford CEO is going to be like, wait, what? Who the fuck was this? Is this guy still alive? And they're like, no, he died of COVID 2300 last week, the newest phase of it. And
Dude, seriously, Jim Farley's going to be on his deathbed, and he's just going to be listening to like random YouTube videos. And we're going to come up and he's going to listen to this portion, because at this point he's catatonic, but he can still hear. And his family's just put headphones on him because they're all trying to like separate his wealth and they don't want him to hear it. And he's going to hear that. And that's the moment he's going to have a heart attack, both with bliss and regret.
he's just gonna be like, fuck, missed opportunity. And that's going to, his head inside of its pickle jar will shimmer and seizure out and die.
Yes, that's literally 40, 50, 60 years from now, but it will have that impact. So I'm not as optimistic as you are. I'm going to go 20% chance that they do a 7.3. I want to say if they do it, it'll be a later announcement than this announcement. But again, I don't really believe that they're going to do it. I think they have a formula here that's working, and I think they're just going to kind of stick with it. They're going to write it out. My opinion, they're going to ride this Mustang out until all gas cars are banned or whatever. Not the and again, I don't necessarily believe that is going to happen, because logistically, it's just so impossible to be able to do that by 2035. It really is impossible. I mean, unless they plan on killing like 3/4 of the population of the United
What do you
States.
think this? If you agree that T is a 7, what do you think that's about? Like, what do you think that's that?
I think it's the 7th generation. I think they're trying to make a play on the 7th generation.
And that engine noise, it's clearly a dual clutch or sequential type transmission in that clip. So it could be that 7-speed dual clutch, but that's not new news. So I don't know why you would be like that.
No,
speaking of electric vehicles, though, Andy, Jeep. Let's get into it with the Jeep new electric.
This is an interesting one, dude. Give me some thoughts.
I mean, so here's my problem.
Wait, hold on a second. What are we even talking about? Give us.
Yeah, I guess I should. The 2022 Jeep Recon. It's a new. You're right. 2024 Jeep Recon. It's a Jeep 4-door SUV that looks sharp. It has to me a touch of the old Jeep Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
Also has a little bit of that new Land Rover Defender look. So it's not a bad look. It's reminiscent of some of their older stuff. It's got kind of the Jeep Cherokee grill going on, but it's a decent look. I'm not a huge fan of the Jeep look, but this thing's got like kind of a tough square body, and it's not real huge, not tiny either though. It's 4-door. It's, Jeep JK Unlimited sized, and it's all electric. So
what do these look like, Coy? Sorry to interrupt. What do these look like? 35s, 37s? I know this is a concept. This is drawing. This isn't the real vehicle. But
I'm assuming they're going to have a 33-inch tire and maybe offer 35s. But I mean, we'll get into this a little deeper. Obviously, I don't feel like they can offer it with too big of a tire, because big tires on gas cars kill gas mileage. On electric cars, they kill range. This is not this thing is not aerodynamic. It's not small, and it's not going to be lightweight. I mean, if this is actually even close to what the final outcome will be. So, but they still have to get a usable range. And then all this is really tough for them to put together, especially at a reasonable price tag. I mean, think a Rivian comes in at 100 and some K, like 100 to 115. Jeep can't just make an electric car and then charge that. This thing's got to be like 60K, max. And it's got to be usable, and their marketing is an electric off-road, so it actually has to work, like.
I agree with all of that. Just one thing I'm going to throw out though, the Jeep Grand Wagoneer, that tops 100,000. So
it does, but they're not. Have you even seen one on the road before?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, they're not selling shit of those. So it's like Jeep has to want to sell these because they need those carbon credits. And they're, like every manufacturer, if people are making laws saying you got to go electric, you got to start working towards electric, or you're going to be too late to the game. And you're going to buy somebody else's second, old electric tech and just be behind the ball forever. So I got a feeling that it's not going to look like this hardly at all. It's going to be a lot smaller tires, and we're going to have an electric Jeep Renegade, basically. I mean, I don't want it to be that, but I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking. According to the, render pictures, the doors are going to come off and all the top's going to, have a big removable pan. Like it's going to be a cool rig.
Full
Now,
Jeep mode.
saying all this, my biggest beef here, cool Jeep. I love the idea of an electric off-road car. I like it actually more than electric race cars because it makes so much more sense. Your vehicle's quiet. You can be out there enjoying it. I mean, you got crazy torque. Like you're not starting stuff up, turning it off. Like it makes more sense to me. We have to start addressing what we're doing here. Like we don't have the fucking infrastructure for everyone to go electric. I don't understand why everyone is like, yes, 35 electric cars. And it's like, you got to start making a move. Literally every day that goes by that we don't talk about infrastructure for the electric vehicles, it is a cataclysmic event. Like California already has power outages and they're buying power from other states and they still can't get enough. If other states start getting a bunch of electric vehicles and can't sell them power, like this is a chain reaction of horrible power outages that I don't know how we're going to solve. So I'm starting to think that we got some new power tech that they haven't told us about that we know we're going to introduce in 5 years. I don't know.
I sort of disagree with that. I think that most of this is just simply pandering to a particular base of voters. And I mean, what the fuck does Joe Biden care? Like he's going to be dead in 6 months. He might already be dead now. We might just be watching like an animated corpse that they're using bad CGI over. So, I mean, he doesn't give a shit. No, none of our, leaders, quote unquote leaders, really give a shit about any of this stuff. They're just trying to pander to what they think is their voter base. So I don't actually believe that any of this is going to happen. I believe that as 2035 grows closer and closer, they're going to start easing back on some of these regulations as it becomes more and more infeasible to do. As a matter of fact, it's not even going to start in 2035. I guarantee you by 2030, they will have pushed a lot of this stuff back, just like the moon launch. By the way, we were supposed to have a moon launch. We were supposed to be on the moon by 2023. Now they're saying it's no sooner than 2033. And I think that the legislation is going to go the same direction for this. But anyways, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Well, I agree with all that, but the OEMs are pushing this.
Well, like they're trying to comply with what this fake future legislation is going to be.
But if you're starting
Michael
to push
Sprague,
in electric models, like
well, so Coy, just hang on a second. Michael Sprague is in the comments. Thank you for joining, Michael. Using gas generator to charge your electric vehicle makes so much sense. And yeah, I mean that's kind of where we're at right now. But I know, Coy, your point is like, what do we have in the future? How are we going to back this up?
yeah, like I'm all for electrification. Like I make fun of this not because it's electric, because this electrification isn't really feasible right now.
Mhm.
And I am actually at the forefront of let's have a conversation about like anyone talk about what we're going to do. Like you can't even put the power lines underground so you don't burn California to the fucking ground every year. But which would it literally be that simple as start putting the power lines underground in your fucking wooded areas. Why can't we have a conversation about where the fuck we're going to get electricity to charge these cars? Like once we start getting a higher percentage of electric cars on the market, like
Yeah.
where are we going to get the power from?
And again, as we talked about last week with Roy Tolfson, they need to be building 400 charging stations a day to even make just California's regulation work. Not the mandate for the entire country, just California. They need to be building 400 of these stations a day. And by the way, that number continues to go up because as they're sitting on their hands not doing anything, 3 months from now, it's going to be 500 a day. Because
Every day that you don't build 400 that day pushes it to the next day.
Exactly.
I mean, and at this point, it's going to, I mean, to me, it looks like it's going to be a thing where in 10, 15 years, it's going to be like gas. Hey, supply and demand. Everybody, you're going to pay me a metric shit ton for this electricity. And so to power these electric cars, a bunch of people out in rural areas and, that don't even have an electric car, is going to be paying through their nose to run their refrigerator, and they're not going to be getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning to dry their laundry. Like it's there needs to be more conversations, and the fact that, and I know I hate doing this on the show so much, but I am pretty actually passionate about this. Like, I'd love this electrification to work. I'm not a car guy that hates electric. I like electric. I want it to work. Let's make it work. Except for no one talks about how to make it work. They're just like, look, new electric car. That's really cool. New electric car. That's really cool. Or we're going to come out with one in a few years. It's like, I love it. Love it. Love it. How do I charge it? How do I charge it? How am I going to charge it when everybody else is charging it? I'm also upset that we don't talk about natural gas.
Oh, or hydrogen. Hydrogen is derived from natural gas. Honda years ago, they had a generator, a home hydrogen generator. Yeah. You hook it up to natural gas. It separated out the elements that you need that you can use. It would store the hydrogen in tanks, pump it in tanks. The carbon output from it, they would send a pipe 30 feet down into the ground, and that would expel the carbon, which, by the way, is the best way to get rid of carbon emissions from this stuff, is just to let the earth, which is literally carbon. Don't forget, everybody, when they talk about your carbon footprint, we are a carbon-based life form. Everything on this planet is based on carbon. So when they inject carbon back into the ground, it essentially filters itself. You're literally giving carbon back to the earth. Also,
it would be like if I sucked my own dick.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the ultimate.
Plant a few fucking trees. Like if every house had, I don't know, half a dozen oxygen producing trees, it would literally offset all of the carbon that you create. I mean, provided you stopped using as many plastics and all the other stuff that comes with it, like reducing your own carbon output. I listened to this podcast the other day, and I really want to do a segment on it at some later date because this was a passing thing. But it was an MIT professor explaining the carbon footprint of electric vehicles. And right now, right this very second, the carbon footprint of Ford Lightning with a 131 kilowatt per hour, I believe it is, battery, which is larger, by the way, than the Tesla battery. The Tesla is like 80,000 or 90,000 kilowatt or 90, excuse me, kilowatt hours. The carbon footprint for just making those batteries is more than driving your gasoline car getting an average of 25 miles to the gallon. We're not talking about hypermiling. We're talking about the average of all vehicles. It's roughly double the carbon emissions of that vehicle over 100,000 miles. And so it puts you in this really weird place where you start to realize the rules are made up and the points don't matter. None of the points matter. And it's literally, it's just, we're in this amorphous blob that's going nowhere because it sounds pretty and frilly and fruity, but really all we're doing is we're exporting the dirty work. We're exporting our carbon, quote unquote, our carbon responsibility.
Yeah, we're shipping our recycling to Taiwan so they can dump it in the ocean there.
Exactly. We're just shipping it off. We're shipping it off. When you're talking about the impact on the globe, which everyone wants to talk about, it's global climate change. We're not actually doing anything to impact global climate change. We're literally just exporting our guilt to a different country that doesn't give a shit.
This is why I wish we'd talk more about natural gas. I don't think natural gas is the answer, but it is a short-term solution for right now. Like every house that has a natural gas pipeline in it, which is in every big city and many rural areas, you could have a natural gas compressor in your garage or just outside of it, fill up off that line, compress natural gas. The engines, we basically have the engines already. They just have to be converted to run on natural gas. Like manufacturers could easily come out, like they could just say it's a natural gas powered car within a year. They could start making these. And think about this. Like you don't have to charge your car at the dealership. You're not trying to, like, it would solve electrical problems. You wouldn't have to go to the gas station even. I mean, you could still offer compressed natural gas at gas stations, but you could literally fill up in the convenience of your own home. It burns a bazillion times cleaner. It makes good power. Like it's literally better in almost every way. other than it has to be compressed.
Thank you, Michael Sprague. He says y'all are spot on. Nobody seems to talk about the problems and how to solve them. He's 100% right, and that's what drive Coy and I crazy. We talk about this once in a while. I have an engineering background. Coy is just a genius. He's a savant, and that's just where we land. Like we both have experience in this industry, and gone are the days of, oh no, my entire trunk is going to be taken up with this natural gas tank. No, you don't have to do that anymore, man. You don't even need the metal tanks anymore, although they're probably more environmentally friendly than like a carbon fiber, because again, you're using plastic resins to make it. But I digress. You can have a series of LNG tanks that essentially are the same size as a battery, and then you could just have an engine that runs off of this stuff, and really no change needed. I mean, you look at carbureted cars that have been switched over to propane, diesel engines that have been switched over to propane. The switch from propane to natural gas is literally just the jetting. It's the same. Think about generators that are, the tri-fuel generators, Coy, where they run off of gas, propane, or natural gas.
Yeah.
It's just a jetting change. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be a little more complicated with fuel injected cars, but I'm saying
Sure.
this isn't like they have to design a new engine or a new car. They just have to barely convert. And this is pretty straightforward shit that they honestly probably already have a engineering schematic for.
Mhm.
Like I wouldn't be surprised on a lot of these motors. And I know
Could you
Honda has
imagine-
natural gas cars and stuff. There are natural gas cars, but
Mhm.
we could literally be doing this like as we speak, and it would be a much more environmentally friendly thing to do.
Mhm.
And it would take the burden off of the grid till we can catch up to making it's frustrating for me that we can't multitask at all. But
So
on the other
to-
hand, I'm pretty sure this is all sleight of hand, because if you ever notice how all the super rich people are trying to get to outer space, have you ever Googled forever chemicals or know anything about those?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so it's a couple chemical chains that come in like Teflon and stuff, bunch of stuff 3M invented years ago and then they don't make anymore. But now there's like 70 other companies in China that make them. They appear
Fascinating.
they're in all the groundwater. They're in the ice in the Antarctic now. They say you'll never get it out of the atmosphere. And it's in a lot of countries, it's actually at unsafe levels to drink the rainwater. Rainwater, it's in rainwater. Some countries, rainwater is unsafe to drink because of those levels. The countries that, like America, where it's not unsafe, it's just because we have a higher level baseline. We're just like, no, this is the safe amount you could drink of this forever chemical. It's already in your body. There's nothing you can do. The earth is contaminated with it and you can't get it out.
The microplastics, really.
It's even worse than microplastics. These chemical chains are horrible. So I'm not and of course it's birth defects and lower testosterone, all kinds of shit linked to
lower IQ.
Yeah. Give me the old leaded gas that gave us a few serial killers. At least we could fight in the bar and shit, not go to jail, and like people were cool about it. Yeah, I know.
I'm so sorry
you get chopped up, but whatever.
I'm so glad you brought that up, the lead, because you can literally track. We invented leaded gas, and then there is this steep incline in violence in just the United States. It's only in the United States that they did this study. And then once we stopped doing leaded gas, then there was a steep decline in violence and a steep increase in IQ. Jim Clack is in the comments. Thanks for joining, Jim. We always love to have you. He's making a good point. It takes verification of tanks every once in a while to check them. He's talking about with LNG or really any other
they
tank.
Absolutely do have to be recertified every so often.
And he's right.
I totally agree. But I mean, most of these towns, you got to go DEQ your car every 2 years. Mm-hmm. Why couldn't you just have that tank designed where you pop it out, pop a new one in? We just make these tanks a certain shape and size, done. Every manufacturer can build around that dimension and just wham, bam. I mean, swap them out. That's how you do welding. Most welding, you can buy your own tanks, but even if you buy your own tank, you take it down to our gas or wherever your welding cutting torch supply place is. This empty. I'd like another one the same size.
Mm-hmm.
You can wait for 2 weeks and they can refill yours, or they can just grab another one and hand it to you, and you leave with it after you pay them for what's in it. You just swap. So
it's an owned bottle.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know why we can't do a service very similar to that, since there's a model of that that's already being done.
Yeah, it's modular. It's actually quite simple, and really, there's no reason why it shouldn't be simple to do something like that. So, really, really good point, Jim. I'm glad you brought that up. We're really kind of off on a tangent here, Coy, and so I do want to bring us back around to a
Yeah,
race car.
bro. I like the electric Jeep. I think it's cool.
I do
I
too.
hope they sell a bunch and it exposes some of these fucking problems.
Well, but you know who has not embraced the electric just yet? It's
Who?
KTM. The KTM Crossbow or X-Bow, depends on what you want to call it. Crossbow, X-Bow. GTXR uses the world's most powerful inline 5. Look at this fucking thing, Coy. Does this not look like a hypercar to you?
Bro, my dick can only get so hard. Like for real. Like, the way they made that open up all, early 90s prototype Le Mans car
Front
style.
clamshell. It's that clamshell that rotates forward. Oh, it looks so good.
Like, why put doors on it when we can open this thing like a fucking F-14 jet? Like,
Yeah.
fuck all those doors. I'm tired of doors, dude.
Doors are so 2021.
Bro.
We're over it.
Hashtag doors are for the pores.
Doors are for the pores.
Clamshell or not, bro. If my car doesn't have a fucking cockpit, then it's not for me.
You need something to literally contain the massive wang that I just acquired by owning this vehicle. Isn't this thing gorgeous?
It looks amazing to me. This is one of the, honestly, of all the supercars, everything new, all these hero cars, whatever you want to call them. This is like one of might be my most favorite one. I love the way it looks. It's got the front end's got kind of a little Corvette-y there, but I still like the giant splitter. That goddamn clamshell just does. I love it. Giant big single windshield wiper. Love all that. And then the back end of this still looks amazing. And the side, it's got those splitter louver things.
Mhm.
Reminds me a little bit of the Lotus Evora.
Yeah.
Had those big flat panels. Do not step.
So I'm going to just throw out there the early Koenigsegg stuff. This looks like the front end gives me some Koenigsegg vibes. Actually, the back end does too a little bit, but just the bubble flares on the back end are just gorgeous. And just real quick, I want to say, Jim Clack says it looks like a homologation version of the GT4 version I saw at PIR, and I'm glad that he brought that up because this is actually the road legal version of the KTM GTX, which was a track only X-Bow crossbow variant that they made. So this is actually the road going version of that.
Here's my thing with the back end, bro. All the louvers. We got louvers in the bumper. We got louvers on that back windshield, if that's even a windshield. But windscreens in the back behind you, the wind's not even windy back there. And you only look behind you to see who's passing you. And nobody's fucking passing you to this. So why would you need any more than that? Like, there's so many louvers. I love louvers. I don't know if it's because I'm a 90s child and all those fucking Celica Supras and 240s and shit had louvers, but I just love louvers.
Don't forget the second generation Starion. Oh my goodness, the
Mustangs.
best. I mean, fastback Mustangs. Hell yeah. The louvers on those back windows. I'm even gonna throw this out there. The third generation Camaro or the Trans Am, I like the louvers on those. They're very like 80s, again, hitting my nostalgia buttons. But dude, the louvers, that looks so good.
I don't know if there's louvers on anything that I've been like, nah, I'll pass. Like, louvers make it all better.
Same with box flares. Not that this has box flares, but I'm just saying that's one of those universal things. Yeah, Jim Clack is jumping in saying late 70s Firebird. Michael Sprague brings up a good point. You can actually get in and out of this thing in a parking lot. Huh?
And and if I was a rich guy, this is really a date checker. You know what I mean? So you open the door for her, no matter, you don't have to go to her side to open the door. She walks around to your side. You open the cockpit. Now she has to get in. I'm sorry, that evening gown, which she's probably wearing, if you're at this rich, you're gonna have to see what kind of gal this is. She's gonna have to grab the thing, hike it up, and do a little jump. Like, she's going to have to be a real committed gold digger, or you're going to have to get, or you're getting one of the good ones. If she's like, hey, I can't get in your car, and you're like, then you can't get in my bed, bitch. I'm out.
If you're not good enough to get in the car, you ain't getting this seed.
Yeah, this chick's definitely going to have played some softball in college. You know what I mean?
So listen, man, this thing is supposed to be, and I think that this is pretty close. It's supposed to be sending about 500 horse through a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, which I'm all about. Top speed's going to be 174 miles an hour. Let me ask you something. At what point did we stop caring about the top speed? Because, a lot of those hypercars, they had the top speed number. That was sort of their benchmark. And it was like, oh, the Lamborghini does 1 mile or 2 mile an hour faster than the Ferrari, blah, blah, blah. But you'll notice a lot of these hypercars have stopped making that their benchmark because, the Bugatti Veyron came around 250 miles an hour.
Veyron's what stopped that, because they're just like, hey, we put a special key on it, bumps it up to 18 bazillion horsepower, and it blows everything out of the water on top speed. And the problem with top speed stuff, once you hit, I don't know what this gets engineering, but at like 170, so for every 1 mile an hour faster you want to go, it takes a certain amount of horsepower. Well, the more wind you're pushing, that goes up in a non-linear curve. So it gets steeper and steeper. So at a certain point, it's like, well, from 150 to 151, I needed 25 more horsepower. Well, 170 to 175, I need 130 more horsepower. Like, it gets steeper and steeper, and that price gets more expensive.
It's asymptotic. Yeah. When you're looking at the curve, it goes up until you reach this number where you can no longer overcome the wind with your aerodynamics. And the thing that's always plagued race cars is you need enough aerodynamics to keep you on the ground at 70 miles an hour, which is going to give you a ton of drag at 170 miles an hour. So there is kind of this sweet spot there, which I feel like a lot of these hypercars have started falling into. However, this is claiming that it'll do 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds. I think that's just an estimate right now, but anything in the mid threes, that's going to make you shit your guts out.
Yeah, you'll shit your pants out loud.
Yeah, exactly. I just think this looks absolutely incredible. And I just want to quickly touch on the engine. I have always liked the sound of a 5-cylinder. Always. Going back to
I got a 5-cylinder Colorado out here, I'll tell you. It sounds great, air quotes.
Okay, well, maybe not that, but I'm talking about like the 1983 4.5 Audi rally cars. Those 5-cylinders, they have such a unique sound, and I just love them. And honestly, I'm glad that they went with a 5-cylinder, because how easy would it have been to call up Honda and be like, hey, we need 2,500 of your K24s, and then they would turbocharge them and they would make the same kind of horsepower. But I'm glad they did the 5-cylinder, because I just think the sound is so amazing. I'm not saying the K series don't sound good, but man, that 5-cylinder, it is just going to have such a unique sound.
Yeah,
and
when you're spending a certain amount of money,
Jim brings up, when you get to triple the legal speed limit, what difference does it make? Only if you're trying to run from the police helicopter, Jim.
Well, it makes a difference if you're in a school zone. That's all.
Oh, coy. Bring in the logic. I love it.
I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh, also with these cars, like, when you get a certain price, like, you expect a certain amount of exclusivity. Like, if I was buying this, I love everything about it, and they're like, it's powered by a K24. To me, it's just like, okay, that nice kit car. Like, yeah. Like, I expect something kind of, even though K24, you could probably make an argument of it being better and easier to work on, available parts, available options for upgrade. There's going to be no upgrade path for this 5-cylinder, essentially. I mean, maybe an exhaust, I don't know, but on the other hand, like, I have this special cool motor, so I would expect that with this kind of car and this kind of price, it brings it up a notch.
I'm going to disagree with you just a little bit, because these 5-cylinder Audi motors, there are upgrade paths getting them to 1,000 horsepower. There are a couple of 1,200 horsepower Audi A3s and RS6s running around with these engines in them. So, I mean, there is an upgrade path
I,
for them, but I agree there's some exclusivity there. And the exclusivity doesn't just stop with the engine modifications, it actually starts with the price tag and the production. Koi, did you happen to notice that they're saying they're only going to produce 100 of these? So, very limited production. And they're going to be starting at $282,000.
that's not cheap.
That's, I mean, if I won the lottery, I can think of a lot of things I would do with that money instead of buying this car. I would have to have a
Bro,
fuckload. It would need to be $1 billion, New York lottery ticket.
I will point out though, like that sounds crazy expensive. That's 2.5 Rivians.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fair.
I mean,
That's fair.
if you get a Rivian and you got your wife a pre-order Rivian SUV, and you're in that tax bracket, you're not far off from one of these. Like you're at 230, 240 right there. So I'm just, this isn't as far off the price as you think. That being said, I don't think once you get in that income bracket, there's a ton of like hardcore KTM guys. Like I know guys that are like diehard KTM guys, but they all make like 65K a year. So it doesn't, yeah.
They live in credit card debt. I get what you're saying. We actually have a couple of mutual friends. I'm not gonna bring them up. Hopefully they don't get offended, but we know a few people where they're like, oh, I got a pay raise. It's an extra $300 a month. Let's go and find the closest thing we can that's got a 96-month payment plan that I can spend $300 a month on it. We know some of those people. So these will sell mostly to rich people, a few to just like YouTube and internet stars. But I'm pretty excited about this. I want to see it on the track. It looks really, really amazing. I have a feeling it's going to sound amazing too. It's just the cool factor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's ticking all my boxes for sure.
Oh yeah, ticking more than your boxes, son. It's tickling your asshole.
Andy,
Cool.
though, I wanted to say though, speaking of speeding at triple digit speeds and so on forth, I found a cool news article that I thought was worth bringing up on the show.
Oh yeah. Sure.
So it's actually about a crash that happened in Vegas. A woman was drunk and high on cocaine, and she smashed into another car, killed them almost instantly. The driver of the other car, though, was out of her mind on meth. So, is that just like a wash there, or how's that all work? I don't know.
It feels like a wash. Just quickly, by the way, Justin Bustle's joining. Thank you so much. He says Andy loves a good asshole tickle. Trust me, and he knows because I've been on Justin's podcast more than once. He's got this awesome show. It's called Tales from the Podcast. I did an episode with him just a week ago. So please do go and check that out if you are looking for something after this podcast to go and listen to. I think we did 3.5 hours, and it was mostly just bullshit. I was just sort of rambling. Once I realized we were going to go long, I was like, hey, man, what's the longest podcast you've ever done? He's like, I don't know, 3 and some change. And I said, we're beating that tonight, motherfucker.
Just went to 4.
Yeah, no, this is, you know what would make it a wash, Koi, is if both drivers died. So it's not exactly a wash, but it's close.
Yeah, but if both drivers die, it's like, it can't, if a drunk person kills someone that's not drunk, they're just heading home from a long day at work, not a wash. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this, like, I don't know, it's meth. This one's coked out and drunk. Like, just can you imagine, like, you're the driver who just plowed into the meth head, and now she's dead, and you're coked out and drunk, Andy. Which I'm not a perfect on drugs, but if you do coke, that kind of that outdoes the alcohol. Like that's the whole point of doing coke while you're drunk, because you can be drunk to about die, do coke, and then kind of just be on coke and then be drunk again after that wears off, right?
That's my understanding. I've never done the combination of coke and booze, but my understanding is that cocaine really counteracts the effects of alcohol and lets you sort of like even out. I'm not saying that this woman was evened out. I'm just saying there's a possibility that she actually could have been in her right mind. She could have been blackout drunk, snorted some cocaine just to even herself out enough to get home. But then why would she have wrecked? I mean, you know what's interesting is this might have actually been the drunk driver high on meth's fault.
It sounds like it was. That's what I was gonna say. So the lady that was on coke, maybe she was just took a little bump of coke to get her home. You know what I mean? She's like, "Wow, I'm way too drunk to drive, so I'm gonna do a little bump of coke to get home." And the bro, of course she was. Like,
Michael Sprague hit the nail on the head. Does the story say if either one was a hooker?
look, it's in Vegas. OnlyFans is a thing. If they're not a hooker, they're an amateur porn star. Like, we know. Yeah. So what I'm saying though is, like, my level of driving right now is, let's say we're in a scale to 100, and my normal driving scale, I'm a 67.
Yeah.
This lady, stone cold sober, she's probably a fucking 35, because that's just where I'm putting her. Drunk, we get her down to like a 27. Now she does some coke, that gets her alert, ready. Like, she might be a better driver on coke than she is normally, Andy.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, I need some testing. I need some hard data.
We just ran across the mugshot, by the way. If she's a hooker, then she was going real cheap. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just saying.
That is some ultimate energy. I'll say that. Oh my God, bro. There's I think that is Ultima.
No, that's a Ford Focus. What's the car that they hit? I can't expand these photos, but
the red car is a Mustang. That silver car, is that a Focus?
Yeah, that's a Focus. Which is what she had, by the way. She snorted some coke and she had that Focus, man.
Well, it sounded like she was making a U-turn when the methed out driver slammed into her and ejected both people.
If I read this correctly, it was the methed out driver that was making the U-turn. Because it said the first car, which was the meth car, was making a U-turn, and an illegal U-turn, and both the driver and the passenger were ejected from the vehicle. That's my understanding from reading this. But you tell me, Coy.
I don't know. It's all confusing, but they're doing 70 and a 40. So does it really matter? Right?
Why did they word this stuff? I don't like the wording of this stuff. So let me just read this. On January 14th, North Las Vegas police reported a two-car crash near Cheyenne Avenue and Civic Center Drive. Police said a car was making a U-turn in the center lane, causing the front of another car, which Butler was driving, that's the Coke one, to collide with. So that means the first car making a U-turn was the meth one. But the wording is so weird. Like, you get the headline: speeding woman on cocaine kills drunk driver high on meth in North Las Vegas. And now you have to parse it out. Who are these journalists? Their writing style is terrible. Maybe there's some legalities around it, but it is awful. They go on to say Butler's car traveled about 150 feet before it stopped in some landscaping, police said. So it veered off the road after she hit the person making U-turn, and that person making the U-turn just happened to be high on meth, and she just happened to be high on cocaine. Wow. I mean, there's got to be there's some kind of a karma collision. Like, I feel like the universe just opened up right here and was like, listen, both of you, you're being totally irresponsible with your lives.
Also, the methed out person also had a substantial amount of methamphetamine in their system, and also had 3 times the blood alcohol limit of driving. So they were both hitting the sauce and topping off with some powder. Like, this one went meth, this one went cocaine, but I mean, they both had this. It sounds like these two people would have partied together, sadly. Like,
Jim Clack says they were already running from imaginary cops. That is hilarious, Jim.
Andy, I want to do a little thing here where you play the chick that's in jail right now. You're in the room with the one-way glass and the light bulb, and I'll be the cop questioning you about this accident.
Okay, let's do it.
Hey, Mrs. Butler, Don't know if you know, but the occupants of the other vehicle you hit, they died tonight.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't sleeping. I was just resting my eyes. What'd you say?
Yeah, no, the people you got in the collision with, they died. They're dead.
Wait, I was in a car accident?
Yeah, a terrible one, actually. Very terrible one.
Okay.
That's what
So
those cuts and scrapes and bruises.
okay,
That's why
so
you're
am
in
I
jail.
free to go?
No, I want to make this extremely clear. No, you are not.
Okay, just start from the top. I'm awake. I'm here. I'm awake. I'm awake.
So you were driving way above the speed limit tonight, and blood tests show that you were very drunk and high on
Sounds
coke.
right. Yeah, sounds
And
right. That's
you
me.
hit another car with a drunk meth head in it,
Fuck.
and they're dead. Like you killed them.
Well, at least it was meth head. Am I free to go?
No. Also, like that person had 7 warrants out, and now, like, we're trying to hire cops here, and you're kind of taking our work away when you just kill a meth head like that with all those warrants. Like, you understand how this could bother me at a personal level?
Well, I only have one thing to say to you.
What's that?
I am Batman.
End scene.
By the way, if that whole thing seemed totally disjointed and not funny, it's because Coy and I didn't rehearse at all. I literally didn't even know that he was going to role play with me. But yeah, no, I mean, that's it. Listen, she's drunk. She's high on cocaine. Like, obviously it's going to set in once 36 hours passes and she's kind of like back in whatever right mind she has the capacity to have while sitting in jail. This is real bad though. This is vehicular manslaughter for sure. 100%. She's going to spend 15 years in prison for this. Bad choices all the way around. Does it say anything about the passenger? Did they survive, or did the passenger and the driver of the first car die?
I understood they both died.
Man, double vehicular homicide.
They both got ejected from the vehicle, which it looked like it was convertible Ford Mustang. I'm going to say that neither of them were wearing their seatbelts. Like, if I got drunk and did this stuff and did some coke, and then someone did a U-turn in front of me and I pile drove them and they flew out of the vehicle, like at my court case, I'd be like, look, I'm totally terrible this happened. I was speeding, but I was on the road where I was supposed to be driving straight. Speeding. You got me there. I'll take my speeding ticket. Fine. You got me.
A Dewey. I was driving under the influence.
I was a little drunk. You give me the Dewey. But the part where they turned around in front of me and were sideways in the road, so then I obviously pile drove them because they were sideways in front of me and they pulled in front of me. And then I shot them out of the vehicle. But I wouldn't say it was me, because if they'd been wearing these little things called seatbelts, they could have saved their own fucking lives. I would argue that shit. Just be like, look, man, this was suicide. Like, they clearly pulled it. They saw a vehicle going fast. They pulled in front of me. Like, when someone steps in front of a log truck to try and end their life, you're not like, hey, Mr. Log Truck, guess what? You're going to jail forever, because I guarantee you blood test him. He's a log truck driver. He was drunk last night and he got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. There's alcohol in his system. He ain't going to get away scot-free. So I'm just going to, yeah. They're like, hey, man, they were trying to commit suicide. Clear. They had a suicide pact. They pulled the convertible in front of me, a speeding Ford Focus.
Let's just change this up a little bit. Let's pretend that the woman that hit them was not under the influence of anything. Matter of fact, I'm going to change it up completely. Let's pretend that the person that died was not under the influence of anything. I think in some states, and you know what states I'm talking about, California, New York, Illinois, they would try to prosecute you to the full extent of the law, and you'd spend a lot of time in jail trying to appeal. But I think in a more moderate state where people want to sort of look at the laws and look at the circumstance, if it was just a normal person that was speeding and they admit it, and they hit someone else that had turned directly in front of them at a red light, a vehicular manslaughter with time served, maybe a low sentence, maybe just probation. I feel like that could all be in the cards. Everything
There's
gets
an easy way to get out of this, though. The easiest way. Well, because this is a surefire way that's been proven in California. If you hit someone with your car and kill them, come out as trans the next week, and just be like, yeah, I'm a woman or man, and they'll forget all about you piling your Hummer into someone else and just killing them.
I don't think I have the more you know button set up anymore, but that is when we needed it. I might even go in post editing and add that in because that is so factually correct, Coy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just become some part of a protected class and you're off scot fucking free. And by the way, cite my sources. Anybody ever heard of Bruce Jenner? Didn't he run over and kill somebody in his car?
Well, yeah, he did, and maybe he's in jail, but Catelyn's fine. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. You got to come out right after, and yeah, fucking jail him. I don't give a shit.
I'm 100% woman, and if you don't like it, you can suck my dick. All right, listen, Coy. First of all, Darwin Bonk is joining the comments. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining, Darwin. I appreciate you, man. We're recording this at a different time than normal, so we really appreciate you guys jumping in and coming through. You're awesome. Thank you so much for doing that. We do have an Olaf that I wanted to get to. Let's go ahead and pull that up. Overland is fucked. Talk to me, son.
Bruh. We got ourselves an all pro off-road product. And if you're an off-road guy, you've heard of All Pro. They made some cool stuff before they got bought out.
The name would imply that everything they make is like pro off-road shit.
It was. They're owned by the same company that owns all the off-road companies now. I don't remember who it is, but some conglomerate. And so a lot of their products, I still think they're high quality, but they used to make a lot more diverse range of products, but less so now. But they did just come out with this amazing new product, All Pro's Overland cutting board. You know what I'm saying?
This thing looks like it's ready to hit the trails.
Now, here's what's different about this cutting board from a regular one. The handle where you hold it, it has one, first of all. It's a little bit of an angle so we can make it look like a mountain on the end. So instead of your cutting board being nice and square and stackable in shelves and counters and boxes and things, throw that shit out the window. This thing's a fucking 19-sided polygram now. Why would we make it usable? Also, those white cutting boards you have made out of Darylin, the time-tested and proven Darylin. And then you can really see when you've gotten them, you got all the stuff out. You got to scrub it. It's white. You get some blood from that meat you chopped in there. You got to get in there and scrub it out. Well, we're offering this in black. Okay.
And also red.
I was going to say, and just for those ones that pesky blood stains, we'll offer it in red as well. So you don't really have to scrub as hard. Red just goes away. Right?
Listen, now, if I can't see it and I don't know it's there, then it doesn't exist.
Exactly. It's Schrodinger's bloodstain. Now, if not all that is enough to convince you to get yourself an Overland cutting board, one, you're already sold because you're like, man, I also have a 19-sided polygram storage box that I like to put my stuff in. This is perfect shape. I also hate white cutting boards made out of Darylin. So I would like a black and or red one. Then let's talk about the price. What do you think you pay for a nice, 3/8 cutting board, Andy?
Well, so I'm just going to
talk about a white Darylin, not this one. Just any one from Winco or someplace.
It's interesting you bring that up because when we first moved into this new house, which has been about 6 months ago, I bought a brand new nice Delrin cutting board from Walmart. I actually spent some money on it. It was a nice cutting board. It was not the cheapest cutting board that they had. It was $11.99 plus state tax.
Plus state tax. And not all taxes have state. Sorry. Mm-hmm. All states have taxes.
Mm-hmm.
This one though, Andy, are you ready?
I'm ready.
It's for the price of $49.00. It's under $50.
Dude.
Find me other Overland gear that's under $50.
Well, I can't. I'm thinking back to that Overland can crusher. That was $100.
Yeah. Done, bro. This thing's under $50 and it's Overland as fuck.
It's literally a performance
mic. I mean, not mine because they're expensive, but if I had a mic out, someone else's mic, I'd fucking drop it. I'm dropping this pen right now. Done.
Here's what I love about this. Not only do they have an item description where they really go in depth about this cutting board, they also have manufacturer specifications, including ergonomic carry handle, food grade HDPE cutting board with a liquid gutter. Okay. Excellent long-term durability. And the most important component here, made in the USA. As far as you know, it was actually manufactured in China, and then we stamp USA on it. Application data says universal. Instructions. If you have any questions about the use or installation of this product, please contact our customer support. Warranty, Coy. This son of a bitch has something that my Walmart cutting board could never have. A 12-month limited warranty.
12 months. I would honestly like to buy a couple of these and then cut them and use them as some part under car, like a frame rail skid or something. Yeah. And then just call them up and be like, this thing, I mean, I just totally wore it out. And they're like, what? A cutting board? I'm like, yeah, it does not withstand up sliding over rocks like I thought it would. I drilled it, bolted it in my frame, and just nothing, you know?
Please do that, Coy. Please. The next time you go to Moab, please just like zip tie 4 of these to the front of your truck. And then when you get home, make a warranty claim for them. Please, I'm begging you.
Here's what I'm going to do. I got this. I'm going to buy 2 of these. And you remember when other people, not me, would tray slide on McDonald's slide, where McDonald's trays, where you'd put the trays under your back tires, lock the e-brake. It's like having casters under your rear tires. I'm going to do that shit, but in a 4-wheel drive. I'm not going to put it in 4-wheel drive. I'm going to put them under the front tires. And I'll be out in Moab on the slick rock, just completely uncontrolled, but that will show my true skill. Okay.
That's genius. That's Coy. You're throwing down so much knowledge this episode. I'm literally stunned. Darwin Bonk says, well, clearly you need one of each. Red for meats and the black is for anything but vegetables, because who eats vegetables out in the woods?
That's true. I don't. Are potatoes a vegetable? I don't know.
They call them a vegetable, but they're kind of a tuber.
Yeah, they're a root. Everybody likes to eat mean root out in the woods. How many hours of front wheel drive donuts is this good for? This is Jim Clack. I don't know for sure, but I would love it if somebody tested. I bet this would outlast your fucking front tires. I don't know how. I need to know what the McDonald's trays used to be made out of, because they would only last a couple minutes before you got through them.
I feel like the old McDonald's trays were fiberglass, because I remember breaking a few and there were like interwoven fibers inside.
That's true. They're pretty durable. So I don't know. But I mean, and this isn't Delrin. These are HPDE, which is pretty tough stuff. But I just don't think it's as tough as Delrin.
Well, so Jim actually brings up a really good question here, Coy. This is clearly not expensive enough to be Overland certified. So let's talk about that for a second.
I'm glad that you brought that up. But see, we took a totally normal item that was cheap. And not only did we quintuple the price, we also made it really useless. Like, we made it a difficult shape out of weird material. And so we took a regular item that was perfectly fine that you could have taken out of your kitchen camping. And not only did we make it more difficult to bring and use, we also made it in weird colors and made it expensive, which I think counts up for the lack of price, honestly.
You know what? It's sort of like saying per capita, like when you're talking about a small country that's absolute trash, and you're talking about crime, like people always try to go, well, America's got more crime than Venezuela. Yeah, Venezuela is 1 million people, and we're 330 million people. So in a per capita, you have to look at it like that. So this cutting board, which would normally cost $12, is now $50, and it is available in 2 colors, and it is going to be horrible to store. Horrible. Like, I guarantee there are going to be some people out there.
How is this supposed to sit next to my $300 can opener? It can't, because we took what should have been a nice square thing that could sit there and made it in this ultra weird shape with a strange handle. So you're probably going to have to like put this on the rear floorboard or maybe the seat pocket on the back of the driver's seat there, slide it down in there or something. I don't know where you're going to put it, but not next to your $300 can opener, because it's just, we don't have the space requirement and the shape. So,
right. It comes down to, is it expensive? Is it at least partially somewhat useless? And does it come in multiple flavors? And that really kind of describes what Overland AF is. We're going to certify this OLAF, certified OLAF.
I can get it.
Overland is fucked. And of course, Coy, our last segment, it's everyone's favorite segment. Let's go ahead and roll right into it.
Smoking deal or smoking a doobie.
This is something you sent me. You actually sent this to me a couple of weeks ago, and I cannot believe that it is still up for sale. And that tells me that there might be something wrong, but we'll get into that. Go ahead and describe to me what you sent here.
We got ourselves a 1973 Chevy El Camino.
And this very first picture, the very first one, this is on Facebook Marketplace, by the way, you guys. If you want to check this car out, if you want to check out anything that we've talked about in this episode of the show, just go into the description of the podcast. Links are available. We do encourage you to check those links out and follow along when we're talking about this stuff. The very first photo he has, Coy, is of the drag radials in the back.
Yeah, he doesn't hide. This is a race car. The seller's description says 1973 El Camino race car. Has a SBC 350 board 30 over, a stage 4 RV cam. No, it's legit because it's the 4th stage. It's like Super Saiyan blue.
Sure, it's a cam that we would put in a motorhome, but it's stage 4.
Yeah. It's like this is Super Saiyan, where you have the electricity in your hair now, not just yellow aura.
It's sort of like saying, yeah, it's only a 5.3 liter, but it has a cam. What is the cam? We don't know exactly. I do know that it has a cam. Now, you start talking about the performance from the cam. No. So wait, you don't know what the performance from the cam is? No, I don't. What kind of cam is it? Coy, what's the one thing that we've heard since we were kids? Whenever somebody says it has a cam in it, and you say, what kind of cam? RV cam, son.
Cam.
Even my buddy Garrett had a Ford Thunderbird with a 302 in it. What kind of cam did he put in it, Coy?
RV cam.
RV cam, son. What kind of cam is that? I don't know, but it's an RV cam.
Stands for race vehicle.
Duh. Of course.
So flat top pistons, eagle crank, a fuelie head, 750 quick fuel carb, turbo 350 trans with 3,500 RPM stall, 4.56 posi rear end, and a 5-gallon fuel cell. We'll trade for trailer or a closed trailer. Good luck with that, buddy. I've been looking at trailers. You're never going to trade. Now, this thing's clearly it's a drag car, and it's been, lightened in a lot of ways. I mean, you start going through the pictures. The paint doesn't look horrible. It's factory El Camino paint. It was a 2-tone maroon and black, looks like.
And it's as horrible as it came from the factory.
Yeah, but I mean, considering, sure, it's got some primer stuff flaking off, but I don't think it looks horrible. Sorry, primer, clear coat flaking off. I mean, the engine looks good. It's got nice radiator, fan shroud. He does have a tiny fuel cell, only 5 gallons, but this thing, he's got it as a race car. He's got that cut out and stuck in the back there, like bucket seats, got him the old B&M ratchet shift. Now, this is where I get a little worried. Look behind the seat that shows, the picture that shows the interior. Look behind the seat. Keep going. There you go. Back one. Or this one too. You can is that rust on the floorboard?
She looks rusty. I mean, there's no denying he did not clean this car at all before he posted it for sale. That's for sure. That
Could be
does
rusty,
look.
but this is over in Bend in the desert. Could be a bunch of dust in there too. That's the only spot where I really see anything that looks rusty, though. The only picture. So he really cherry picked.
Mhm. Lots of shit ground into the carpet. It looks like he was eating whole shell peanuts while he was waiting in
Yeah,
the
but if you
staging
look at
lane.
the rest of the interior, it's pretty on par for an okay condition
Mhm.
73 El Camino. Just that one picture behind the seat looks like rust on the floorboard. But then you go to the shot where it's the whole motor here. You know, the frame and everything in the interior bay looks fine, doesn't look rusty. So I'm a little, yeah, there you go. I mean, that looks good.
Mhm.
Obviously he probably rattle canned some stuff, but it doesn't look ate up. Nope, there is no shroud for it's an electric fan, but what would it do? There's just open air. There's no shroud in the fender wells. Like
Right.
aerodynamics, not muscle guys, muscle car guys, strong points in general, I would say. They leave that for those dumb little JDM guys. So now we gotta go. We've seen the pictures, little El Camino drag setup, and he is asking, hang on, $5,500. That doesn't seem like a terrible price, just to me.
It doesn't seem terrible to me either. I'm just, let's go ahead and I'm going to hit my honesty button. This thing looks like absolute dog shit. The 73 El Camino is a terrible body style. I've always hated it. It looks horrendous. The paint, I mean, you're right. It's worn in some spots. Who really cares about the paint? But like at the same time, this thing is just just fugly. It's got the fuel cell in the
All El
back.
Caminos are, though. You know what I mean? Like,
They all, I understand that, but this one, as far as using it as an El Camino, you've lost just a little bit of that having the fuel cell in the back. I mean, you can put some bar reinforcements and stuff to keep things from crushing the fuel cell. But like, if somebody was going to buy this as, let's say, like, not exactly a daily, but they were going to buy it just to take to the track once in a while and also maybe haul a few things in it, it loses a little bit of that. Um, but I mean, the thing is just, it is so dog ugly. And I think that that's one of the things that's really hampering him. Also, the photos are terrible. This thing is dirty. It looks like absolute dirty asshole. Um, I've never hated an exterior of the vehicle as much as I've hated this. It's so ugly and shitty with no effort made to make it look any better than what we see in the photos. It's just, it's sad. Okay, but now, having said all of that, if everything is true that he did all of these things to the motor, that's a that's a decent motor build. It's not bad. I mean, I don't know what the compression ratio is going to be in this thing. Flat top pistons, that means that it's got a little bit of lower compression. I feel like this is the type of car that somebody would be prepping for nitrous, but it clearly doesn't show any nitrous in it. It's got the 456 posi rear end. That, of course, is gonna, get you topped out pretty quick at the racetrack. I mean, I don't know what his top speed is going to be, but it's not going to be more than like 125 with the 456 posi rear end. Turbo 350 trans. That's all good and well. It's not the strong one, but you're not making a ton of horsepower anyways. 3,500 stall. That's cool. 3,500 stall converters. That depends a little bit on RPM and horsepower. The amount of horsepower you make changes the stall as well. And so, I'm going to make the base assumption that this motor does okay, but it's not making like a whole boatload of horsepower. Yeah. Do you have thoughts, Coy, on what this motor might be making? I'm going to say sub 400, even though it does have quite a bit of work.
this build, and I don't even know if my Chevy small block 350 numbers are correct because I've never fucking seen somebody dyno one. It's just all old timers. Just here's about the amount of shit I did. Should be sitting at 350 horsepower. Like 350s make 350 horsepower when you do a little shit to them. That's what I've learned growing up. I don't know if that's true. If it were me, I'd say this is a 350 horsepower build, and I think it'd probably be pretty close. Now, I'm going to throw one thing out here, though. We're only assuming that this is a drag car. This has a touch of a circle track type thing vibe to me. Just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, I mean the photos are on skinnies on the front and drag radials in the back, but
They're not really skis in the front though.
they're normal. How about that? They're just sort of like normal cruising size.
So I'm not totally convinced that this was built to be a drag car. I'm not sure what it was built. It's where it's being sold at. I'm not aware of a drag track. I think there might be an 8 mile track over there somewhere. So I'm not sure what kind of build this was done for, and if it was some kind of circle track thing, that would explain kind of the interior being dirty and no one giving a crap about it. Yet on the other hand, there's no cage, so that feels not circle tracky. But I mean, either way, dude, this is $5,000.
Mhm.
If I were in high school and $5,000, minimum wage jobs right now are $18 an hour. Basically, you go to McDonald's, make $18 an hour. You can come up with $5,000 as a 16, 17-year-old pretty easy.
Mhm.
And if I were a 17-year-old that was a hot rod guy, $5,000 for this? Can I get a hot rod with a built motor that's in this good a condition for $5,000? Anything that could be kind of cool.
No, not even close.
I couldn't even get a El Camino out of a field and get it to this level for $5,000.
I agree.
So there's a fuckload of downsides to this car.
Yeah.
Metric shit ton of them. This car is rough. Even if this paint was good, it's not a good scheme. It's maroon on black. It's a horrible two-tone 70s bullshit.
And Jim brings up that the paint is garbage, so no reason to clean it up. I mean, I partially agree, but at the same time, best foot forward. I do want to just go through some of these comments real quick. Darwin Bonk says the fuel cell, is so small that unless you live next to the track, will have to be trailered to the track. And I'm also going to throw that out there, Koi, 5-gallon fuel cell. I don't think that's enough to get you through a circle track race. I do think this was a drag car. The other reason why I think that is because you see the holes cut in the fenders. Clearly, the
Yeah.
exhaust from, I'm guessing, a different engine was blowing out the side of this vehicle. So I don't think this is the engine that they originally ran in it. Jim brings up, no cage, of course. Um, he also says, is this an 11-second car or a 35-second car in the quarter mile? Again,
It's probably closer to 11 than 35, but I don't know if that means anything for us. I think this is probably a nice low 14. I mean, let's be honest. This is a mid 14. It's El Camino with 300 horse. It's nothing special.
Again, I'm looking at the build and I'm with you. I'm not really a Chevy guy, but just sort of looking at what he did. If he actually has done these things to the motor, we always have to kind of preface that because we don't know. We weren't there to watch the motor being built. But if it has the things that he says it has, this seems like it's a nitrous build motor to me. So you could be a nitrous bottle away from running 11s in this car. I'm throwing that out there, And so what are you going to spend on a nitrous kit? Another $700 to get a nice one, right, Coy?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
1100 if you want progressive. I mean,
potentially you could be spending a total of $6,200 on this vehicle and going to your local drag strip and running pretty darn quick times, all things considered. 12s, maybe 11s, hopefully.
For me, this is the young guy car. This is me at 17, 18 in high school, maybe just out. If I was a muscle car guy and I saw this pop up for $5,000, and if this, is a nitrous build, dude, going down to my local back road street race outlaw shit with fucking fat bottle juice fed El Camino, that would be I would think about those moments. Those would be the best times of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm a little jealous right now thinking about it. Like, man, you could definitely get a girlfriend with a piece of shit El Camino like this that could do. It's got a posse. You can do fatty dual stripes, bro. You can burn out in front of school. Like, you can lay it down. So I'm going to go out there. I couldn't build this. I couldn't get a non-motor El Camino and put any kind of good motor in this unless I had some kind of motor connection. Yeah, the paint's horrible. It's a fucking El Camino. Like, it's already ugly. So it's kind of one of those things where, so what if it's more ugly?
Yeah.
It kind of works. Just, it's so ugly. It's almost rat rotted without the patina paint.
And if you were that high school age, you definitely would just pull this into a buddy's driveway for the weekend and you would rattle can the whole thing flat black.
Oh, and I'd skull and crossbone the fucking hood and be done.
Yeah.
Punisher emblem it up. Yeah. So for sure, I think I'm honestly surprised it's still not around at 5,500. So since we'd done this 4 weeks ago when I sent this to you, I would have just solidly said this fucking deal at 55, and he's probably going to sell it for 5 because that's what he wants.
Mhm.
That's the thing, though. It's been sitting this long. This makes me worry.
Yep.
The other time, and he could have sold this and never took his ad down. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So,
also.
unless there's something I don't know, just on face value, I think this is, this is going to sell for $5,000, and it's a deal. Now, if this was me buying it, this thing's sitting in my neighbor's yard, and I'm like, bro, you're getting rid of the El Camino. I thought you loved this car. And he's like, my wife hates me. I got to get rid of some of this shit.
Mhm. She caught me cheating on her with another dude.
Yeah.
We said no homo before.
I was like, dude, you had El Camino. She knew that already.
El Camino.
For me, I'm thinking, man, if he was like, look, man, just give me $2,500, I'd be like, But he's like, look, bro, give me $2,000 for this. It's yours right now. I'm like, fuck yeah. So I'm gonna say my max price on this personal is probably like $2,250 right there.
Mhm.
I just kind of working it up. $2,500. I'm not quite there, but as soon as I get under 25, I gotta have it meter goes really quickly. It flies up there. So that 2,550, 2,300, I gotta fucking romp around on this.
Yeah. It's, I hate to do it to you guys. Like, the controversy is really what kind of fuels podcasts, but Coy's not wrong. He's exactly right. I mean, I think that this is going to sell for 5,000 all day long. The fact that it hasn't sold yet tells me that there's something else going on. That's the problem. The idea that someone hasn't driven over to Madras, and hey, Madras is way out there, and getting this thing home without a trailer is going to be a chore because it's got a 5-gallon fuel cell and it probably gets 11 miles of the gallon, especially with the fuelie heads and the 750 carb. So it's going to be a chore getting it home. I understand that. You're literally going to be driving 100 miles between fill ups. I totally get that. I don't understand how this hasn't already sold, but like Coy said, maybe it has sold and they just haven't pulled the ad down, which is also fine. I think $5,000 all day long is what this thing should sell for, unless there's something that you see when you see it in person that really screams red flags. And I'm not talking about small red flags. I'm talking about, everything's leaking from everywhere. The dude didn't
rust holes in the floorboards,
rust holes. Exactly. Like the spot in the gravel where he parked it to be viewed. Not the spot in the gravel where it's normally parked. The spot in the gravel where he parked it to be viewed is saturated with oil from both the engine and transmission. I could see this not being worth the 5,500 he's asking for. But again, with that haggle room, $5,000. My buy it now price, I'm honestly stunned at your numbers because it's like you were literally in my brain. So I'm a little taken back by that, Coy. I know we've been best friends basically our entire lives, but I wish you would stop plucking numbers out of my brain. Because at first I thought 2,500 is probably where my buy it now price would be, and then I took a step back and I said, you know what, 25, that's too much. But if it was 2,000, I'd be like, fuck, dude, take my money. I would say my buy it now price would probably be 2,300 or less. If it was $2,300, I'm pretty sure I would buy it. I'm in, of course, the panhandle of Florida. I'm not in Oregon. And so we don't have a lot of quarter mile tracks around here, but we do have 1/8 mile tracks. And that 456 posi rear end, that's going to come in handy for the 1/8 mile. And I think that this would be a fun, just a dick around 1/8 mile car. It's not going to be the fastest thing out there. If I take it street racing, shit, man, the last time I went to a car meet here couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, was before my foot surgery. But it was over at this little restaurant called the Rib Crib here in Callaway, Florida. There were dudes there with modified Hellcat track hawks. There was a guy there that had a Hellcat Durango. There were all of the Hellcats, all of the Dodge 392s. Like that's a big thing around here. Lots of Mustangs too. There was a dude in there with a big single turbo Mustang GT 350. So I mean, this is not going to be the fastest thing on the street.
It's
However-
not, Andy, but if you rolled in with this, you got it for 2,200 from your neighbor. And you said, look, man, I know you got a bottle for this.
Mhm.
And I know they cost 1,100 now. I'll give you another $800 for that sex nitrous setup. And he's like, fuck, man, it's got over half a bottle in it. I'm like, yeah, I know. Give it to me. So I'm into this $3,000 now. And what I do, 150 shot, 200
Yeah,
shot of nitrous. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm probably pushing 450, 500 on the bottle. Clearly, this is a V8 El Camino, and like I wouldn't say that's a sleeper. Like people know it's a V8,
Mhm.
but they don't expect it to be a juice fed. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I think it could be a pretty good sleeper, even though you're in. Yeah, there's turbo Corvettes and stuff there, but there's also guys with pieces of shit, right? Like even when there's fast cars, there's also shitty car street racing. You'd be a mid-tier car right here if you put it on some juice.
Somebody's going to roll in with their 11th generation Civic or their 9th generation Accord thinking that it's a race car, and this would be the perfect thing for them to line up against, because they're not going to go against the Hellcat Durango. They're not going to go up against the Trackhawk. That would be stupid. Why would they do that?
This is V6 Camaro, V6 Mustang comp all day.
Mhm.
Just like, oh, you're going to talk a bunch of shit about their V6. They're going to say they have a tune-in exhaust and it's way faster than you think, old man. And then you pull up the line and you're gonna be like, hey man, I'll put $20 on it. And he's like,
Mhm.
fuck you, I'll put $20 on it. And then you immediately reach over and start purging nitrous. That fast.
And by the way, everybody, now is the time for you to start entering your buy it now prices in the comments. I know we've got some viewers right now, so go ahead and put them in. Jim Clack is right there on top of it, so we'll get to that in a second. I'm also just quickly going to point out, as far as a burnout car goes, like what if you didn't drag race this? What if you just went, and every place you went, you were just like, I have a $15 a set of rear tires, and I'm going to burn them to the ground because that's what I do. I'm known as the burnout guy. This could be a very cool burnout car, especially with all of the room, even if it had rust holes. The rust holes are all filling with smoke, so smoke's fucking pouring out of the cabin. That would be a very cool thing, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of uses for this. Alan O'Neill is jumping in. Classic lift kit, mutters, rally it, dirt or sand drags. He's 100% right. And Alan, you're jumping in a little late, but let us know what your buy it now price is going to be on this thing. We want to know.
Andy, I got an idea for this car, man. This is going to be a unique build. That's going to be cheap. You're into this. You're into your local street race scene. You're the track prep guy. You get yourself a 50-gallon tank of track prep back there and some windshield washer sprayers that go down, spray behind the tire or on the back somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
You line up. You purge nitrous. You do a fat burnout on one side. Whoa! Lay down some rubber. Then you hit the track prep button, and as you back up, you lay down some track prep. Then you jump to the other lane, do the same thing, lay a little track prep down. All right, boys, you'd be a fucking legend.
Oh yeah, you'd be the farm truck to whatever your street racing faction
Dude,
is.
you get one of those El Camino camper shells or canopy shells to go on.
Oh
this
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
You would be the Chevy version of farm truck. Yeah, you'd be some weird. You'd be like the Canadian version of farm truck. Honestly.
Ooh, okay,
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, basically the same, but low rent.
Yes, the public broadcast version.
You'd be the Roku to their cable TV.
Yeah, you'd be
I'm with you. All right, you guys. Again, if you're watching the show right now, let us know what your buy it now price is. Jim is saying, gotta have it now price is $1,000. He's super low balling this, but hey, we know Jim Clack. We've known Jim Clack for years. This is just what he does. He also says
He's
it'll
not a
probably
Chevy
sell.
guy either.
No. I mean, his screen name is J Mustang, so we know where he falls. Jim, if you see a deal on a Mustang, send it our way, by the way, because we wanna start folding some Mustangs in here. He also says probably going to sell for 4,500. That is another possibility, is that this dude is firm on 55 and he's a dick about it. And so people are just like, hey man, like your car, would you take 53? And he's like, fuck you and your asshole. I mean, we don't know.
Why I don't think this is sold. This is my honest to goodness opinion. He wants to sell it for 55 or trade it for a race trailer. Race trailers are fuck all expensive right now. I mean, they're crazy priced in my area. Maybe not where you live, listener, but where I am, trailer prices are fucking crazy. So to find someone who has a trailer that doubled in value since he owned it, that wants to trade it for a $5,500 car, that means 2 years ago it was a $2,500 trailer that's worth what. So he's not getting the trades he wants. He's not wanting to drop in value because the dude needs a trailer. I think that's where he's at. But
yeah, exactly. Alan O'Neill jumps in. He says 32. I'm assuming that's his what he thinks it's going to sell for price, because we know Alan, he's not going to pay $3,200 for this car. There's no way. Alan, he's going to jump in the comments and be like, I'll give him $500, which, hey, we all give him $500, right? Like, of course.
Give you $500 to shut the fuck up.
Hey, do you think this has side windows, by the way?
Side,
because in the photos, it's up on the passenger side, but it's down on the driver's side. So I was a little curious. I wonder if it's missing the driver's side glass.
I feel like that's something you need to say. I also notice I don't see a single picture where it has a hood. I assume that there's a hood for this vehicle, but he doesn't say that there is, and there's no picture of one.
I think it's a good possibility that there isn't one.
I mean, if you're a drag car, surely you have the hood if you're using it for a drag car.
Hold on. Whoa. Hold the phone. Alan O'Neill says that's his max buy it now price is $3,200. Alan, wow, you're going above and beyond what we went. I am shocked. But you know what? Alan knows cars. So the fact that he would go a little bit higher on this tells me he sees more potential in this than we do, Coy.
Or maybe he just liked one of the tales of being a high schooler and able to get laid with this. I don't know. Maybe that hit a soft spot for him. I didn't get laid in high school. Maybe he didn't either.
Coy, you didn't go to high school. That's okay.
Well, I for sure didn't get laid in high school.
You need to use that more, honestly, Coy. I didn't get this thing in high school. Yeah, you weren't there. You had a fucking job. You were a man. While the rest of us were playing around being boys, Coy was out here being a man. He had 2 jobs. Okay, this is not a. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. But then I want to get into a story.
Overland is fucked.
That was the wrong sound, by the way. I'll insert the other one on the regular podcast. Anyways, fun fact about Coy, everybody. He has been more of a man than any of the rest of us men since he was like 14 years old. Coy, instead of going to high school, worked 2 jobs. He was working full-time at a gas station, 8 hours a day, and then he was working full-time graveyard at the cannery in Staten when he was a teenager. I remember those times because I would try to hang out with Coy and he would be like, bro, I have 2 hours on either end of my 2 jobs where I get to sleep. This motherfucker, he went hard and he went fast in the paint. If anybody tells me that they have lived their whole life grinding for the dollar, I'm going to ask them, did you ever work a day job and then a graveyard job when you were 16 years old? And they're going to say no. And I'm going to be like, that's right, motherfucker, you didn't. So go back to your crib, suck on mama's nipple. You're not a real man, because I've known what a real man is. Dude, Coy, you've done some crazy shit for the dollar in your life. I'm not talking about that summer where you dressed as a woman in downtown Portland. I'm talking about you working multiple jobs at the same time. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was dumb. And it was also I could get a new car, which I got, and then it
Was
got
probably
stolen
stolen.
immediately got stolen.
Why, but hey, why was it stolen?
Oh, I left my keys in it, but I lived in a town of like 500, and it was parked across the street from where I worked, and everyone did that. I was like, you didn't have to. I just dropped the keys on the floorboard. That way you didn't have them in your pocket while you're at work. Yeah, on me. And,
That's the most redneck thing I've ever heard. Like,
bro,
what am I going to do with my keys? I don't want them in my pocket.
how many movies have you watched where they just grab the sun visor and open it and the keys fall out?
Yeah, but I thought that was fake.
No, that's the middle of America, bro. That's just not LA and big towns. Like that's I grew up, we didn't lock our doors. Like you just when you left the house, you just left. Like I never locked my car doors ever till like I moved to Salem years later. And even then I didn't do it half the time because it just couldn't, the memory wasn't there for it.
I remember one time when you and I lived together, I was at work and I had a customer come into my work and say, "Hey, I just drove past your house and the front door is wide open." And it was because Coy was leaving in a hurry and he was just like, "Fuck it."
I thought it lasted behind me. I don't know. Yeah, I give it a yank. I'm just gonna go some wind.
Okay, to be fair, it probably closed enough but didn't quite latch. And then my 23-pound cat pushed the door open so he could get inside to his food. Is that more likely than not?
That's a certainty, honestly, because I know I wouldn't have just walked out the door and left it wide open. I would have thought it closed.
Yeah.
But it was in a kind of a cubby, so it doesn't seem like wind would have got it. So yes, your fucking feral tiger probably just walked up and was like, paw door.
I loved that cat so much. I mean, he was I swear it, like that cat must have had the soul of like a past lover in a past life, because he was everything to me. And it used to drive Coy nuts because my cat Thomas would walk across the convertible top of Coy's S2000. And Coy, you would get mad and you'd be like, "Your fucking cat was walking on my car." And I'd be like, "How did you know it was my cat?" And what did you say to me?
Because there's paw prints the size of my fucking hand on it. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Maybe a cougar escaped the zoo and slept on my car. Or it was your cat.
He was so big. He was giant. He was a giant cat. With speaking of, I got another kitten. I really shouldn't have.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, well, I was high on pain pills. Not really high. You don't, when you're in pain and you're taking pain pills, you don't really get high, but it does affect your cognitive ability. Let's just say that. And my neighbor knocks on the door and she's like, "Hey, I just found this kitten in my yard. It was being eaten by a hawk." And then we chased the hawk off. But my husband hates cats, so he's going to shoot it, or you can have it. What do you want to do? So I took it. I mean, what else am I going to do at that point? I was just like, yeah, fuck it. You know, we'll take him in. No problem. And so, yeah, we have a fourth kitten running around our house. I honestly have no idea what I'm doing. Like at this point, I need to just start an animal rescue, because at least I can start making money off of this. But yeah, we took in another kitten. And go ahead and ask me why, Coy.
Oh, why?
I have no fucking clue. I have no idea.
You know, you're a cat lover. I'm a cat mediumer. Like if a cat's around, I'm petting the cat. I don't necessarily want a cat though. But on both, I get why people love cats, but I also get why the neighbor hates cats. And I feel like cat haters get kind of a bad rap because cats are fucking dickheads, bro.
Okay, but hold on a second. You need a little bit more information. So my neighbor, he's this super skinny white dude covered in really bad tattoos.
Yeah.
And this cat is black.
Well, look, sorry. I'm sure there's good cat haters on both sides.
Just I'm letting it marinate. That's why you're not hearing me talk. I'm letting it marinate.
Making it hard for me to defend all this now. That was kind of a dick move. But I'm just saying, wow, I can't even say anything now without, this is really difficult.
They're so lazy.
Fucking ate all the I'm just saying, cats are dickheads. Like they just come in your house and they're like, "Hey, I'm not supposed to be on this table. So I'm gonna get up here. Hey, all this fucking mail and this shit, I'm just gonna fling it all off. And you walk in, you're like, hey, no. And then it just looks at a candle that's in like a glass cup or something.
Yeah.
You're like, don't fucking do it. And they just like off the table and make fucking direct eye contact like a dog. Dogs don't do that. Like there's a thing where they get caught and they act like, oh shit, but they don't look at you and just be like, oh, you caught me? No,
Yeah.
You're witnessing. That's different. You didn't catch shit. Boom, and just knock shit off the table. Like, I get why you can hate a cat.
Yeah.
I also get why you can love a cat, though.
Well, again, like it comes down to training. I'm not saying that I'm like a master with cats or anything, but I will say, if you ever watch a mama cat, what they do with their kittens, if the kitten's being an asshole, they smack the living fuck out of them, like just boom, like the paw of judgment comes down on that cat. And I'm not saying that I abuse my cats. That's not what I'm saying. However, when they do things that they shouldn't, there is a time tested and true method for getting it through to them. You're not supposed to do that. We have 2 other kittens that are now 4 or 5 months old. And I went through that because when they're young, they bite everything, they chew on everything. And so I act like I'm mama cat. And when they do something that they're not supposed to do, this is going to sound ridiculous. Hopefully this doesn't reduce my stature in anybody's eyes. But I hiss at them and I bat at them. And it's the only thing that cats really understand. I would argue that our cats are quite well trained. They don't get up on stuff. They don't dive into stuff. They're not knocking anything off. I will take that back. One of our kittens, they got into the habit of getting on this shelf where Corianne keeps shells that she finds from the beach. And he'd bat them off. And finally, one day I was close when he started doing that, where he started batting these shells off. And I went over there, and I don't want anybody reporting me as like an animal abuser, so I won't tell you what I did. But I mean, it was authoritative. Okay. I was making sure that they understood that I was the authority in the house, and he has not gotten up there since. Cats are trainable. People don't want to be assholes to cats because cats are assholes, but you need that training. Like that's the long and the short of it. I've taken in old feral barn cats. I have taken in feral kittens. I've taken in middle-aged cats. So I think I know something about sort of the way to train cats or just generally animals, because by the way, I've helped people
Just
with
to
their
be
dogs.
clear, all the times that your cat was sleeping on top of my convertible car and just literally staining paw prints in it that stayed for years. You could have ended that at any given time, is what you're saying, and you chose not to.
Let's just say this, Coy. Do you remember when Thomas stole the beef patty out of the hamburger that you just bought because you'd worked a super long fucking day, and the only thing you wanted to do was take a massive shit and then eat your hamburger, and he stole the burger patty out?
Yeah.
I trained him to do that.
Somehow I'm not surprised. That was one of the only cats that I've ever seen that ate French fries as well. I was always gave him I would give him a couple fries and would eat like McDonald's French fries, which I think is partially the reason he lived so long, because of the preservatives. But
oh, I would guarantee it. He was basically embalmed when he died. Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome, Andy.
Yeah. All right, so what have we talked about this episode, Coy? We've talked about the Queen. We've talked about EV vehicles.
Long live the Queen. I mean, fuck, god damn it. The King. Long live the King, I guess.
Hail to the King, baby.
70, so I don't know what we consider long, but yeah. Long live the King.
That's that's what I'm talking about. Basically, the Queen. Sorry, I'm trying to think of something nice to say, and it's not coming to me. So we'll just
I'm gonna throw this in there. All the shit we've done about royalty for the last couple weeks. I'd like to think we've brought enough attention to this that maybe, the Illuminati or somebody was like, the Rockefellers was like, these guys make some valid points.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason why she didn't live to 130.
They sent a poisoned corgi in there and cause a death unknown. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I'd like to take full responsibility for the Queen's death.
Okay, wow. All right. Well,
Everybody in America.
while Coy is taking credit for the Queen's death, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. I want to thank you for telling a friend about the podcast. Honestly, we say this every week, but it really is what keeps the wind in our sails. We wouldn't have a podcast if it weren't for the growth that we see every single week, and it really is because of you guys sharing it out. So thank you so much for doing that. Coy, if people want to get in contact with you, where can they go, man?
Same as always, man. You get on the Horsepower Hour group page. You hit that message now button. You tag me, Coy Sinclair. Just tag me. You want to bring an article to my attention? Like, hey, we talked this thing about the show, and you were like, oh, 50% chance the Mustang next week gets debuted with a 7.3, and check out this article, dummy. Tag me. I'll be there. Like,
well, I feel like you're calling out Jim Clack specifically.
I'm just saying, but he's welcome to. I'm just saying, tag me if you want to tag me, or message me on any of our group pages. Just say, hey, Coy, I want to talk to you. You're in.
And ditto for me, you guys. Facebook.com/The Horsepower Hour is where you can find us. The group is Facebook.com/group/The Horsepower Hour. Instagram, haven't been doing much with that, sorry, but it is at The Horsepower Hour. It's another way to get a hold of us. Of course, the TikTok, The Horsepower Hour. Come and check that out. It's probably going to be changing soon because I have too many strikes on that account because I speak the truth, man, and they don't want to hear the truth. That's not what social media is for.
Yeah, you get banned more than anyone I know, so I don't know what you've done or what kind of truth you're speaking, but I imagine you're comparing cats to races or something like that. So
yeah, it's probably something like that. But listen, you guys, once again, it's been an absolute joy. Coy, always good to see you, my friend. Another good episode. And again, you guys, if you do want to reach out to us, come and hit us up. And the number one thing you can do to help us out is to like, to subscribe, leave a comment, send us a review if you want. You can review us on Facebook even. If you just want to type a quick, hey, it's good, we will take it. Give us some stars. We sure appreciate that always. So Coy, thank you once again, my friend, for being here. And for Coy Forticus and Masterson, Junior, Senior, Esquire, Duke of Earl Grey, this is Andy Will. See you next time.